Okay, Audrey, feel free to go whenever you're ready.
Okay, then I will start my presentation and I'll say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. In my time zone, it's afternoon. Um, I'm going to present today to you a solution that might be very new to you, so I'll take it step by step. But first of all, I hear about and see about so many DeFi solutions, having millions or even billions in dollars revenue for a happy few that trade amongst themselves. But what is the impact of that on the world? How do the rest of the world, average Joe and his family, or a family in Africa, benefit from that? Today, I want to talk about a way that blockchain really helps people, families in need by distributing grants, subsidies, aid money in a simple and very secure way by using programmable money. Let me show you how that works. So, this is the title of my talk today: Track and Trace Your Tax Dollars with Purpose-Bound Funds. How programmable money transforms aid, subsidies, and grants into a force for good, reaching the people who need it most. So, every year, worldwide, billions of dollars in aid money, subsidies, and grants, your tax and donation dollars, are lost to friction, fraud, misuse, and corruption. The sector even has a very polite word for it: aid leakage, to make it sound less bad. But in some parts of the world, that aid leakage is up to 30% of the money. At the same time, there are millions of people, families, that still don't receive the support they need, even if they are eligible, because they lack a bank account, lack formal ID, or don't even have a phone. So we face two problems at once. First, institutions lose control over how public or aid money is spent. And secondly, vulnerable people are excluded from receiving support. Now, my name is Adri Wischmann, and the past 40 years I've been an entrepreneur in the world of finance. Let me check if my screen is fully being recorded. I'll just share my screen just to be absolutely sure it is. Like this. Okay. So my name is Adri Wischmann, and the past 40 years, I've been an entrepreneur in the world of finance, working with brokers, local and central banks. But today, I want to share a vision that will revolutionize money itself. I would like to change money into a force for good, a tool to fight poverty, boost sustainability, and build trust in a divided world. Money with a mission. Now, the solution I'm going to show and explain to you is a few levels ahead of stablecoins. I know stablecoins are the new worldwide hype in the blockchain world. Everyone is talking about this. Everyone is building new solutions with it. But I personally am a bit underwhelmed. 15 years ago, blockchain was presented as a solution for everything. You have a problem, just add blockchain and everything will be solved. Even by mentioning that a company was researching on using blockchain, the stock price would jump. The first wave of crypto users were all about freedom, anarchy. The government should not know how much money I have. I will pay taxes as much or as little as I want. We will disrupt the whole financial system with a good alternative. Who needs central banks anyway? Well, that did not fully work out the way the innovators thought. I'm going to talk about a blockchain solution to improve the life of millions of people. Blockchain for everyday use. Simple, but very effective. Now, let's rewind a little bit. Humans have been using money for thousands of years in various ways, shapes, and forms. We've been bartering. First step was 5 chicken for 1 goat. We used silver and gold standards, first by weight. Then we invented coins. We still use them. What I heard was that Donald Trump wants his face on a new dollar coin. We still use them. Paper money was invented in China. Plastic money, credit cards in America. Electronic money. We see that on our banking app every day. Electronic money, the only way that private money exists at the moment is electronic. Public money is physical, private money is electronic. And nowadays we even got virtual money. Bitcoins, ethers. For this kind of audience, I don't have to explain how virtual money works. But the question is, what is the next step? What comes after virtual money? Well, the thing is that through all these thousands of years, the three basic functions of money stayed the same. It's a medium of exchange, so we can buy and sell stuff. It's a unit of account, so we can calculate and compare value. And it's a store of value, so we can save that value to later on buy things or. But in our current world with computers and technology, what if money itself could be programmed, embedded with rules, intentions, and smarts? Looking at the world today, over 90% of financial transactions are conditional. You get paid if you show up to work. Child support arrives if you have a kid. Rent is due if you don't own the place where you live. Or you could flip it around. There is money from the government for low-income families if they spend it on a school laptop for their children. Companies provide health budget for their employees if they pay a personal trainer or hit the gym. But the process to receive the money is still from the 1800s. Take a low-income family needing that school laptop. First, they have to apply for permission at the city council. Somebody has to look at it and approve it. Then they have to go to the shop and upfront their own money, which they don't have, save the receipt like it's a holy artifact, mail it to the city council, and only originals are accepted, no copies. Then wait for some bureaucrat to look at the receipt, see if it's on the green list, and then approve payment. And then maybe in 3-4 weeks, they will get reimbursed on their bank account. That's a bureaucratic circus that wastes time, energy, and causes a lot of frustration. And the most ridiculous thing, that 96% of the people that need that school laptop subsidy, that money, that grant, cannot afford to upfront the money in the first place, right? They simply don't have it. So they cannot use most of these subsidies. It's ridiculous. It's like asking someone who is drowning to fill out a form before you throw them a buoy to save their lives. It's totally ridiculous. Enter programmable money. A digital evolution of my grandmother's wallet. And here's my grandmother's wallet. Right? That's the old one with the metal clasps on top, which you have to twist to open and close. So my grandmother had this wallet with compartments. Right? She had different kinds of money. She had clothing money, grocery money, rent money, holiday money, different kinds of money. Every pocket had its own purpose. So what we're doing with programmable money is the digital evolution of this wallet of my grandma. But it is cheat-proof and supercharged with technology like blockchain. Right? Where my grandmother now and then would cheat, When she saw nice shoes, she would do a little bit less holiday money and a little bit more clothing money. You cannot do that with our evolution of that grandmother's wallet on your phone. So imagine a wallet on your phone with pockets of smart money. Every type has built-in rules set by the issuer, government, company, or city. And it's not your money. It's their money on your phone. So you cannot shuffle like grandma. You cannot use the money for a school laptop for buying something else. It's not your money, right? Money for a school laptop can only be spent at approved stores for buying a laptop. Money from a corporate health budget, valid only at gyms or personal trainers. If you try buying cigarettes, access denied. Computer says no. The issuer of the money controls who gets how much, where it can be spent, on what, and when. These rules are embedded in the money. Best part, payments from issuer to merchant happen automatically overnight. No middleman, no paperwork nightmares, no special hardware, just a smartphone, and no commission. And this isn't just tweaking money's 3 classic basic functions. This is about adding a 4th function to incentivize, reward, and help people. Now, it can nudge us to live healthier lives. It can reward people for positive contributions towards community and create opportunities for people who really need it. Why does this matter? Because in a world facing climate crisis, inequality, and eroding trust, programmable money could just be the game changer we need. Now, let me paint you some real-world examples I've seen or helped design myself. First, government support. In the Netherlands, there was this project called Blockchain Baby. New parents get maternity care hours in a digital wallet. Not euros, hours. The old conventional way works with pieces of paper which state the numbers of hours worked, which both parties have to sign, that have to be mailed in and checked, and then reimbursement follows in 30 days. With Blockchain Baby, at the end of the day, the caregiver just scans a code from the parent's phone, which contains compartments with maternity hours. In one beep, they transfer the hours, and boom, the next day, euros hit her bank account. Or in your case, dollars. No signatures on crumpled pieces of paper. No waiting 4 to 6 weeks. It's efficient, fraud-proof, and lets parents and caregiver focus on the baby, not on bureaucracy. But it can also be used in many, many different ways. The second example I have for you is a city came to me and said, well, we have this budget, 20,000 euros, for increasing mobility of refugees. In the old way, they would order 100 cheap bicycles from AliExpress, sending the money to China and giving these bicycles away. I said, no, let's this time do it different. Let's this time start a campaign in the city asking citizens if they have a bicycle in their garage which they don't use anymore. So they can bring them to one of these 10 bicycle shops, and if they donate the bicycle, they get a QR code, 50 euros on it, valid at local restaurants. Go have dinner on us. Thank you very much for your bicycle. Thank you. And we give the shops 50 euros to fix and clean the bike. And we give refugees a QR code with which they can buy a bicycle. Now, I have happy citizens who are engaged in this project, I have happy restaurants, I have happy bicycle shops, I have happy refugees, I have a happy city council because the money was distributed in a very, very efficient way. Um, we stimulated the local economy. We didn't send the money to China, we kept it in our community. And we saved 200 bicycles from the scrapyard. Yay for circular economy. It's a win, 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 win situation. But I can also give you global examples. The last one here. Germany's Minister of Culture allocated 100 million euros after COVID for the suffering culture sector. Nobody could go to theaters, cinemas, concerts. Everybody had to stay at home. But these sectors were going down the drain. But she did not give the money to the culture sector directly. She gave the money to every 18-year-old in the country. Every 18-year-old received 200 euros over a period of 2 years with a restriction. It can only be spent in the culture sector. Hitting two birds with one stone. The youth discovers culture. They can buy music, go to festivals, etc. with this money. And the sector gets the financial injection they need to survive. Now, projects like this are popping up worldwide. Singapore has Project Orchid. In India and Nepal, there is money for female entrepreneurs to buy sewing machines so people can start their own business and put food on the table for their families. Programmable money isn't science fiction. It's here. Now, you're a few thousand miles away, but I can hear you think. I don't want the government or anybody to tell me what to do with my money. Then you're right. But this isn't about your money, your salary. This is subsidy money from the government. Taxpayers' money. Money to buy solar panels. Money to buy a heat pump. Money from a health budget of an insurance company. Money which you did not earn by working. Money you received for a certain purpose. Just over a year ago, I spoke at the United Nations year conference in Riyadh about how to use programmable money to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, ending poverty, hunger, inequality, climate woes, etc. And one of the main topics was the biggest barrier to aid, trust, or the lack of trust. So how do we ensure donations reach the needy without corruption sidetracking the funds? Programmable money has trust built in. It's traceable from A to Z, stored on distributed ledgers, cutting fraud, fighting corruption. And if you're worried about privacy, there is advanced technology like zero-knowledge proofs and homomorphic encryption that can hide your personal information. Would you please donate a few dollars every month towards lunch money for school kids in Zambia who elsewise go to school hungry? I've been asked this question by strangers in the street many times. I didn't know them. I didn't trust these people collecting that money. So I didn't give anything. But what if I would have 100% proof on my phone that this money was really spent at the school canteen on a healthy meal? I'd give, and I'd even give more. That's the power of programmable money, turning skepticism into positive action, making every dollar, euro, or yen a targeted force for good. The point is, do you trust a stranger thousands of miles away, or do you trust a fully traceable system? Now, how does this work in practice? Let me show you. We've been live since 2022 here in the Netherlands, helping cities with sustainability projects, helping government with distributing relief money for energy poverty, with unprecedented success rates in speed, adoption, and cost. We're currently doing this in 10 cities in the Netherlands. We're setting up projects in cities in Germany. We're working with the United Nations Development Program in Zambia, in Cameroon. And at this moment, we are negotiating deployment with the government in North Macedonia to modernize social services with our wallet. We solve a lot of problems with our wallet, with our closed loop programmable money infrastructure as a service. It's a long line and it sounds very, very advanced and very technologically complex, but I'll explain it all. So I already mentioned it. A issuer of the money clearly defines who receives how much, where it can be spent, for what, and when. And we can even attach more rules to it because it's programmable money, right? We had use cases where we even made the money transactions available on where you are in the world. So you could only do a transaction in a certain spot. I'll just throw in a use case for that. In Macedonia, we have a card where elderly people get taxi money, taxi credits on their card to bring them to a hospital for physiotherapy, for blood work, for everything. But they can use that money only to go to the hospital. So we programmed the locations of 8 hospitals in the city, and you can only do a transaction within 500 meters of one of those hospitals. So programmable money can have many rules. So we program these rules into the money, and we use for various purposes privacy by design rules, right? Because that's one of the biggest fear of people using electronic money. What about privacy? Will the government allow me this and that, or will it enable me to do this and that? So we build that into our programmable money also. We use privacy by design, which means we do not know who the users are. We don't ask for their name. We don't ask for an email address, no telephone number, nothing. We track money, not people. And for optimal inclusion, we designed it so that the end users do not need a bank account, do not need to have an ID. They do not have to log in on any platform. They don't even need a phone. They can just use our blockchain solution with a QR code. And I will demonstrate in a moment. Programmable money is super versatile. You can use it for many things. And I will give you a few examples. And I'll even show you a transaction. Maybe I will show even a QR code so you can install it on your phone. Onboarding is 60 seconds until you do your first transaction. Okay. From day one, we decided to work with the current monetary system, the conventional monetary system, instead of against it. So the whole freedom part of cryptocurrencies, that's nice and fine, but in reality, the reality of every day, that doesn't work that way. Of course, for a few people trading amongst themselves, that works great. But if you want mass adoption, if you want billions of people working with it, having money sent to them, you cannot surpass central banks, etc. So we decided on day one to work with the monetary system instead of against it. And I've been working in the financial industry for more than 30 years. I had my contacts. So I literally rang up our Dutch central bank, asked them if it's allowed, what I wanted to do. And that was 5 years ago. They looked at it and said, well, we don't have any special questions. As long as there is collateral, then you can do this. If you are making cryptocurrencies out of thin air, then we have a problem. We have to talk. But the way you do it for governments, for cities, then it's perfectly fine. So um, we built a layer 2 solution on top of fiat money. Right? You might have heard about Lightning Network as a second layer on top of Bitcoin. Well, we have a second layer on top of fiat money. You cannot program fiat money, right? Impossible. So we put a layer on top which contains the rules, which enforces the rules, but the settlement at the end of the day is always in fiat money. Right? That's also why I'm a bit underwhelmed with stablecoins. As a short intermezzo, it's super nice to be able to send money to my uncle in Venezuela, and I'll send him $100. Great, instantly at nearly zero cost. But as long as his baker and his butcher don't take USDC or USDT or whatever stablecoin, he still has to go to MoneyGram or a different kind of company to off-ramp his money and buy local currency with that, which costs commission, etc. So what we said is we just do our off-ramp ourselves. And I'll show you in a moment how that works. This has many, many advantages. So for the issuer, this second layer approach gives more control and instant transfers. All the positive sides of cryptocurrencies. It drastically decreases aid leakage because you simply cannot buy anything that is not intentional. It lowers administrative costs. There is real-time accountability. We have a dashboard, and I'll show it in a few seconds, where you can see every transaction, every money flow as it happens. Now, for beneficiaries, it's super easy access. You get a QR code, and you can see look at it like a debit card. No need to pre-finance purchases, upfront your money which you don't have. No paperwork, no receipts. No reimbursement delays. And for suppliers, super simple. They just scan the QR code and the money magically appears in their bank account the next day. Automatic settlement. Now, you need a team of experienced, regulated money experts to build this. So it can be used at scale. Right? Everybody can vibe code a wallet nowadays, and it works. Technically, you can send that $100 to your uncle in Venezuela, but regulators are coming to knock at your door. If you don't get approval at the start, most startups think about security and compliance later on in the process. We put that priority up front. First, we got our permissions. We talked with our national bank, and 2 years ago, we even got accepted into the European regulatory sandbox. Every year, 20 companies in Europe are invited to come into that sandbox. 20 from Helsinki to Cyprus, and from Spain to Greece. We were very lucky. But at that moment, 12 central banks stood in line to talk to me. They wanted to know exactly what programmable money is. And I had to explain every nut and bolt. But after we explained it, we have a very special architecture in our system. After we explained it, they gave us green light. We have permission to do projects with our programmable money in all European states. We are exempt from MiCAR. We don't even have to do KYC for our customers. That's very exceptional, right? So regulation is super important. Okay, moving on. I'm going to explain you how it works. This is how it works. So an organization, a city, a government, United Nations, World Food Program, UNICEF, you name it, they have a budget they need to distribute to people for a certain purpose. They select the beneficiaries, certain individuals, families, or even startups or companies are selected. They select the suppliers of the goods and services they want to distribute. It doesn't have to be money, right? It can be fertilizer for farmers. It can be anything you want. I'll give more examples when we're later on. At that moment, we start to work. We generate anonymous on-chain accounts and sub-accounts for different purposes. We generate QR code cards, and that QR code card has a key to an account or several accounts with, for instance, fertilizer, seeds, and entrepreneur courses, etc. So it's not one currency. Can be 50 currencies on one card. You cannot mix the services and the money. They're all purpose bound to a certain account. Now, we generate that, and then these QR codes are distributed to the beneficiaries. They can use the card as is if they don't have a phone, and I'll give an example of that in a moment. Or they can use the QR code to install the app on their phone and have the credits on their phone. Now, if they've done that, they can do transactions with suppliers. The suppliers have the same app, which is activated with a different QR code, and that different QR code turns the app into a point of sale. Same app, two functions. So they can do as many transactions they want. In the app, they can see who accepts the coins, what they can buy with it, etc. They do transactions, and at the end of the day, every transaction during the day, every transaction shows in our dashboard, and at the end of the day, the money from the revenue of the transactions is transferred from the bank account of the issuer to the bank account of the supplier. This is the fiat money. Until then, as long as the coins are still in the account of the beneficiary, the money is still on the bank account of the issuer. Only when it is used for the intended purpose, then the money is released automatically from the bank account of the issuer to the bank account of the supplier. Simple, but very effective. Now, you can use this for many things. There's a city in Germany, Nuremberg, that distributes cards with which people can buy a bicycle. They can have tutoring. They can pay the monthly fees for their soccer club to stimulate children to go into sports. We have a card in Cameroon where female entrepreneurs that go and sell, for instance, tomatoes in the market can have market days on their card and entrepreneur courses. I'll give an example of how this works with these market days. All countries south of the Sahara have a problem. Nobody pays tax. Nearly nobody pays tax. And 85% of the entrepreneurs are females, and less than 10% of them have a bank account, which is a problem. Now, many of them have a very simple business model. They go in the morning to the market, buy a crate of tomatoes, and sit on the market and sell them per 3 or 4, right? The profit that's in between puts food on the table that evening. But during the day, somebody from the city council comes by and he said, listen, you have to pay for the rent for your market spot, right? And because nobody pays tax, a piece of that market rent is also a tax, right? So if they come in the morning, they say, well, I haven't had any revenue. I just bought my tomatoes. Please come back this afternoon. Then I have some revenue, I can pay you. But sometimes they get sent away. If you don't pay, you don't belong here, goodbye. And if you get sent away, you don't have any revenue that day. If you get sent away, you don't have food on the table that day. and you cannot come back the next day because you don't have money. So United Nations decided we will sponsor that. If a woman is unable to pay for her market spot, her market stall, we have a card, not with money on it, with 15 market stall days. So the guy from the city council, the market master, scans the QR code, takes off 1 day rent, and leaves. He gets $3-4 from the UN to pay for the rent of that market stall. Right? In that way, they see to it that that woman is able to feed her family. Many examples. Here we have a card from Macedonia. This is to fight menstrual poverty. There are young girls, young women that don't go to school 3-4 days a month because they cannot afford female hygiene products. So the government decided, well, we make a card and we'll put a certain amount on it so they can buy in certain shops female hygiene products. Right? We even have on that card for emergency taxi money. So if they are somewhere and don't have the money, they can go into a cab and pay with their card. Many, many use cases are possible, and new ones emerging every day. Now, this is how it works, right? So a person receives a letter with a QR code card. You can also send them by mail or any other way, give them away in person. You can install our app and receive credits from the government, the city, a company, etc. With these credits, you go to a retailer, buy stuff, take that home. Now the coins are in the wallet of the retailer. And every night at 10 o'clock, there is a robot in our system that sends these coins back to the city. But in between is a robot monitoring these transactions, and if it sees that 1,000 coins were sent back to the municipality, then it says, okay, now I generate a SEPA file, a bank command file that will send next day $1,000 from the real bank account of the city to the real bank account of the retailer automatically. Retailer doesn't have to do anything. So we have a virtual side and we have a real money side. The virtual side is on the blockchain, immutable, transparent, etc. And the real side, the layer 1 and layer 2, the real side is euros, dollars, kwachas, whatever currency you may select. And the transactions are done in the real world from these bank accounts. Now, we can do these transactions in many ways, right? You can do the transactions between phones. User has the app on their phone, the vendor has the app on the phone, and the transactions are done. But you can also do it without the beneficiary having a phone, just using the QR code card. Right? There are elderly people, there are young children that don't have a smartphone. And hey, there are 350 million people in Africa that don't have a bank account. More than 2/3 of them don't have a phone. So if you want to send money to them, you need a way so they can use the system without a phone. And we made that possible, right? You can just use our method of programmable money with a QR code card. And a PIN code, right? There's 2-factor authorization on it. So nobody can just take a picture and take away your credits. You need also a PIN code, a 6-digit PIN code with it. But then you can do a transaction even without a phone. The vendor needs a phone. Yes, you're doing a transaction on the blockchain. But the beneficiary does not need a phone. Right? You can have thousands of people and 10 vendors giving out the service or the goods, the products, and only those 10 need a phone. But they are entrepreneurs. The chance that they have a phone is much, much higher. And then there's the last transaction model where the user has a phone and the vendor can make a static QR code. We've all seen WeChat, where in China, people in a shop just scan a QR code, put in the number and pay. You can do that with our system also. Now, like I said, there are many examples. This is the card for market aid in Yaoundé, Cameroon. This is a card for farmers in Zambia. This is a card for students in Nuremberg in Germany, right? There are so many examples you can do which we don't even thought about. There was a Belgian city that came to me and said, listen, we have heat stress in our city. At the moment, half of Europe is 40 degrees Celsius. So we have heat stress. Because of the buildings and the asphalt, the temperature doesn't go down anymore. Can you help us? Yes. We designed programmable money, which you can only spend on shade generating trees and plants. So you give a card like that to everybody with a garden or a balcony living in center of the city, and people cannot go and buy beer with that money. They can only buy shade generating plants and trees, bringing down the temperature in the city with that, right? So many examples. I think we can do a demo. I don't know if my PC audio is being transmitted, but it works like this. In Africa, fertilizer is being bought with our credits in this way. And in 5 seconds, the transaction is done. And the next day, the salesman will have the fiat money in his bank account. Or the transaction at the marketplace in Yaoundé is the same. She just shows her card and he will take away one market stall rent day. And transaction is done. Super, super simple. Let me try to show you how it works live, right? I'll switch a little bit. I'll switch this off and switch this on. Here I have a phone like this. And I'll just make it focus better like this. Okay, so here we have our wallet. The wallet contains different kinds of money, like my grandmother's wallet, right? It has 128 kilos of fertilizer. It has 15 market stall days. It has $250 in medical aid. You can have many, many things. People receive a QR code like this. And I see my screen just froze. Let me try to unfreeze myself. One moment. I'll do it like this. I have to press a few buttons. And then we will be back. We're back. And I will do it like this. Okay, so you can see there are many different kinds of money. I can see how much I have left, kilos or days or dollars or whatever. People receive a QR code. And like I said, you can use the QR code as is, but you can also just scan the QR code and get the coins on your phone. We'll do that as we speak. So I'll press the QR code scan button and scan the QR code. It says, oh, you want to import 7 different kinds of coins. Want to buy a bed, a bicycle, You can have theater tickets. You can have tutoring hours, etc. I import them. And that's it. Now, you saw I was never asked for a name, email address, telephone number, whatever, right? Now I have more coins, theater tickets, tutoring hours, etc. So there is no personal information stored. No personal identifiable information is in the system. We are GDPR proof. We don't want to know who you are. Okay, now I can do transactions. The merchant, the vendor, has the same app on his phone, but it looks like this, right? The vendor, let's say you're a farmer in Zambia and you have a phone, not like the movie where he just used the card. You have a phone. The vendor says, okay, you want to buy 50 kilos of fertilizer, alpha, something like that. And he generates a QR code. The client scans the QR code, looks at the transaction details, so 50 kilos of fertilizer alpha from that supplier. You have 78 kilos left. Do you want to do the transaction? Yes, otherwise this would be a very short demo. And now the tokens are transferred from the account of the beneficiary to the account of the supplier. A very simple transaction, 50 kilos from one account to the other account. That's it. And the next day, the supplier will have 50 times the price of 1 kilo in his bank account. Super simple. A beneficiary can just push on a coin. He can see the suppliers that accept the coins. He can see all the history that is done. I can also see the transaction we just did. The 50 kilos are on that screen here. Simple. Right. Until now, the money was still in the bank account of the supplier. But tonight, our system will run and it will generate the bank command file and the money will be transferred, the fiat money. In this instance, it will be in francs. No, in Zambia, kwacha. Simple as that. Now, this transaction will also show up in our dashboard. This is the dashboard that the issuer has. As you can see here, these are the fertilizer coins. This can be many different coins. It's a dashboard where I can look at the account of the issuer. That's the treasury account. I can see you can send money from the treasury account to beneficiaries through the dashboard. I can do these transfers when I have the admin role. I can look at the suppliers. Let's see if we can see the transaction that we just did. It's probably the other one here. Here I can see the transaction which we did seconds ago. Fertilizer alpha, 50 kilos being transferred. I have real-time insights. I can see what's happening. I can adjust my strategy. If there are suppliers that are hardly being used for transactions, I can give them extra publicity. If I see that certain transactions are being done more than others, I can adjust. Right? I can look at the wallet of every user. Every user, every card has a number. That's the only identification, right? This is number 75. If I put in number 75, I can see all transactions. I can see what the balance is, how many kilos already have been transferred, etc. And here I see the transaction we did a few seconds ago. Fertilizer alpha, 50 kilos, etc. So I have total control. And not only as an issuer that is of the essence, but in many cases, this could also be donor money, right? A big donor donates money to United Nations, and United Nations have to distribute it. You can also give access to the keyboard, to the dashboard, to the donor. And they can see in real time how their money is being used for beneficiaries, how people are profiting from the donations they made. Tracking and tracing, that's the title of our workshop. So full control. Real time, I can see how many wallets there are, how many kilos have been spent, how many are left, all kinds of statistics. Let's go back to the presentation. So it's simple for issuers, effortless for suppliers and recipients. And our business model is very simple. Suppliers and recipients use it for free. The issuer pays a small monthly subscription to use our infrastructure. We don't care how much money you send. We don't care how many transactions you do. The system works. And because we use a very special blockchain that doesn't have miners, we don't have a transaction fee. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do this. So for a flat fee every month, you can do as many transactions as you want, which makes it very desirable for public sector because it's a very predictable cost structure. So issuers have many advantages. Issuers can very easily define these rules, approve suppliers, etc. The system enforces the rules automatically. Compliance is baked in. The recipients, they receive a QR code card and that's it. They don't need to have a bank account like with all these other programs. You can simply top up every month. You don't need a new QR code card. From the dashboard, you send money to card number 75, new kilos, and they can just go and spend it. Suppliers, super easy for them. They just do a transaction and the money appears automatically in their bank account. Zero cost. There is no merchant discount rate. Visa takes away 3-4%. With us, it's zero. Because they get the money directly from the bank account of the issuer to the bank account of the supplier. We think this is the future of money. And that's not a title that we came up ourselves. This is what our authorities of financial markets gave us as a name. The future of money. And we think it's 2 steps ahead of stablecoins. First step is that we didn't make it stable coins, but stable products and stable services. Because you can make kilos, taxi kilometers, baby care hours out of it. And although through inflation, these things could become more expensive, that doesn't concern the beneficiary. They had 80 hours of maternity care, and next year they still have 80 hours of maternity care. Yes, the price for the city council might have gone up a little, inflation, but with stablecoins, they would have to pay the higher price. So we made stable products, stable services. We made it possible to send people not money, but intent. I can send school lunches to children in Africa, and they can only buy school lunches with that. I don't give them money to buy school lunches. No, they get 20 school lunches a month, for instance. And the second step that we're ahead is that we're able to use a blockchain system without a phone. Right? I always hear people in the blockchain world talking about when we're going to get mass adoption. Well, I always say the same thing. We're going to get mass adoption if we have an application, if we have an app that everybody is hungry to use with blockchain inside. and having a way to make the threshold lower and lower so millions of people without a smartphone can still use the system, elderly, young children, all of them, that will speed up adoption. Right? So inclusion is a non-issue with us. In Africa, people share phones, or maybe only the man of the house has access to a phone, and women are way behind. Now they're not anymore. They can just use the QR code on the card. Okay, I'm going to wrap things up a little. Programmable money is much more impactful, much more just, and much more purposeful than normal money. It's the money of the future, or as we like to call it, money with a mission. Now, we've been doing this for a few years. So it's the way to track money, to make purpose-bound money, have less administrative burden, less fraud and misuse, etc. It has many advantages. And we have a company called PB Token where we developed this. And in other countries, it's under other names. This is in North Macedonia, for instance. But if you have questions, I can imagine not everybody knows all ins and outs of blockchain. You might have questions. I don't know if there are questions in the chat. I will have a look. But if you have any questions, you can also just send an email or in any other way. Let me see if there are questions like this. I don't see any questions in the chat. Catherine, do you see any questions? No. Let's see if the chat works.
Hey Adri, I don't think there's any questions on Jackie's side, and I'm not sure she's actively on the Zoom, so you're good to go. But thanks for your presentation. It was actually really interesting. Very
Okay,
cool.
great. Well, then we'll wrap it up. And if people have questions, they know where to find me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.